Heyo folks, and welcome to Math Looks Back At, a series where I take a look at the often forgotten or underrated animation of yesteryear. Today I'll be looking at an odd little gem called Animalympics. Now, this one is going to be a little hard to look at because two main reasons. The first is that it's really a creation of its time. It was made in the late 70s, released in 1980 for the 1980 Olympics. So there's a lot of references to sports culture and pop culture of the day that I don't get, and a lot of people who didn't grow up in that time won't get. That doesn't make it bad, it just makes it so that I miss a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff that I get and I understand in it. There's just probably a lot of references that over my head. And the second, and this is kind of the more important thing, even though this is a movie, I can't quite look at this like it's a movie. So I really can't describe it like it was a movie. Why? Well, little backstory for you. See, NBC commissioned for the creation of this. It was originally supposed to be a two-part, well, not two-part per se, but two different specials that were aired during the Summer and Winter Olympics, by the way. Back in 1980, for those who don't know or don't remember, the Olympics were held in the same the Summer and Winter Olympics were held in the same year. I believe that changed 84, 88. So it was really close to when they actually changed that so that the Summer and Winter Olympics had 2-year gap between each. So they were originally commissioned to make this, but politics of the day for the 1980 Olympics created something of a unfriendly atmosphere towards them. So NBC dropped this. Now, they were still in the process of making this. I think that they had nearly finished it when the contract had been canceled. So what happened was Warner Brothers bought the rights to it, turned it into an actual movie by combining both parts, and then just released it. Typically for television, the main people that got it were Disney. It's been rerun on Disney Channel for years and years and years. Either it was every Olympics or just every summertime they would air this as sort of a Olympic special or a fitness special in general. Though it was edited down on Disney. They removed a couple parts, not for length or time constraints, but because it was Disney and there were some things that Disney felt were inappropriate for them. Now, this movie was made by the guy who went on to direct Tron, and it shows. This movie is kind of weird in a lot of ways. It works in some places and it doesn't in others. I think that this was another constraint of being originally designed as two different specials, is that he was able to get away with a bit more, but when they mash it together, it feels so odd. There is no, well, there is a story to it, but it's not really a cohesive story. It's more just 5 or 10 minutes on one thing, then we skip to the next, and then we skip to the next. You might see a reference to a previous story somewhere in the next stories. You probably won't. It's basically, for all intent and purposes, a bunch of shorts all jumbled together and called a movie. And I think that there were several different animation studios involved in this, because Some of these are very rubbery and toony. Some of these are very just stiff and static. The animation looks terrible in them. And then some of them actually have wonderful choreography and look great, even by today's standards. So I'm led to believe, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm led to believe that there were several studios involved in this because it was intended for at least two different parts. The cast, apparently, I think that this was before they became superstars, but the cast in this was actually a pretty big who's who of celebrities, by today's standards anyway. Uh, a wide range of casts. You can tell that a lot of them are parodies of either commentators or celebrities or even athletes of the day. Some of them are pretty obvious. A dolphin, I believe his name was Mark Spritz. That one's right in your face. There's a horse that I believe is supposed to be a parody of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I believe. You can pick up on a lot of these, and you'll see what they were going for, and they were just trying to imitate the things of today. What I think that they really got right in that was the commentators. The commentators are by far the best part of this movie, especially in terms of voicing. They did those really, really well. Mostly because they probably make up a good 80% of the dialogue, but still. They were able to catch the kind of goofy and trying to be relatable tone of sports commentators of the day, and I think that it really worked for them. My favorite character is actually the turkey. He's just so funny in his I'm going to be stern and serious, but have a soft side to me kind of way. I think, and I might be wrong on this, I might be misattributing, I believe he was also voiced by Billy Crystal, which helps, because I think that he just went all out on this character, and it shows. One thing that I really didn't like, though, and this was a musical, as most animation of the day was, or required to be. The songs in this are god-awful. I think that they were supposed to be sort of the inspirational kind of songs that you would see in a lot of 70s sports movies. If that's what they were going for, they nailed that on the head. Because I hate those kind of songs in those movies too. And the songs in this are just so bad to me. If you like that kind of music, you'll love these. There's two songs that I can actually stand. One of them, oddly enough, is a disco song, or at least a song that's being played while the characters are at a disco. Once again, product of the 70s. And the other one is a song that's being played during a rather, I'm going to just come out and say, acid trip inspired scene takes place. This I will once again emphasize this is from the guy that made Tron. Just this scene alone kind of reaffirms that. The song during that is actually pretty neat. It fits really well with what's going on screen. And I think that they did a great job with that one. The rest of those songs are very missed for me. I think that they fit kinda with what they were going for. I think that they were a little bit too sappy and feel-goody for how comedic and over-the-top this movie is, though. I think that they got the tone wrong for the songs, but for the idea that they had that this was a parody of sports culture and sports films and all that kind of stuff, they got that right, if that's what they were going for. And like I said, I can't really talk about the story because there really is no story. It's just a bunch of jumbled up different events thrown in randomly. They go back and forth between summer games and winter games a lot because, as I said, mesh together two different specials or two different uh, features that were supposed to be played at different times. These were never supposed to be connected like they were. So they made it work by going back and forth between them all the time, but it feels really disorganized, and it feels kind of just a jumbled up mess at times. Sometimes that works based on what they're doing, sometimes it doesn't. Some scenes tend to drag on a little long, some scenes are kind of short. You'd think by what I'm saying that this would be a bad movie, and if I was basing this as a movie, yes, it would be. This would, if this was a actual movie, it would be bad. However, as a bunch of just animated shorts, as a bunch of 10-minute non-sequesters, it's actually a good bunch of cartoons, and it's a good bunch of shorts. It's about 80 minutes long in total. There's some things that you're not going to like, and some things that are just have not aged well at all. Some things are really funny and actually still hold up surprisingly accurate to today. I think that if you looked at this and gave it a shot, you'd probably enjoy it. You have to go in with the mentality this is not a movie, it's just a bunch of random shorts, and take it for that. And I'm pretty sure that you'd get a laugh out of this. A few laughs here and there, anyway. I'd recommend looking at it. I don't think you'd end up buying it, though, because there was a different company now that's actually bought the distribution rights to it, and they only have Region 2 DVDs. I believe that pretty much encompasses the majority of Europe. That's all that it's released in. It's got an English language in it, but they haven't released it for any English-speaking countries, or any countries whose main language or predominant language is English. It might be in the UK. I don't even think it's there. That's a bit weird to me. If you can find it in any kind of store, I might recommend buying it, but I would strongly recommend watching it online. I think it's available on Netflix. If it's not, you're going to have to do a little bit of digging because it is one of those movies that a lot of people have forgotten about, so there's not a lot of demand for it, which is probably why it's Region 2 specific. It's worth a look, just to say that you've seen it, and you'd probably enjoy some parts of it. I'm just rambling at this point, I know. But it's one of those things that it's really hard to describe this because it's so much a product of several different factors that played into it. And it's really hard to judge it based off of that. Ultimately, I'm giving the greatest washout answer of all time. Judge it for yourself. You might like it. But I honestly do feel that this is worth a watch, just to say that you've seen it. I think that it is enjoyable enough to have been worth the 80-minute investment. Anyway, this has been Math Machine, talking about an odd movie from 1980 that really isn't a movie. Peace out.